We're going to start with the 9-year Woodinville Whiskey as a part of our 2-Minute Tuesday, as this is the newest and greatest Woodinville to be released. They also released a triple cask special finish that included sherry and scotch. I'm not a very big peat guy, and it was a little touch too peaty for me to where I knew it was not something I was going to drink, so I didn't pick that one up. Let's get into the 9-year, shall we? We start with color. You can see a pretty traditional, nice bourbon color there. Hopefully you can see that, but some good legs hanging on through here, especially at 100 proof, reasonably oily, so that age is really helping. Let's get in the nose. One thing that I get right away on the nose is there's normally kind of a strong malty note for me in Woodinville's basic whiskey. That is almost completely missing this one. There's just a little tiny hint of it. More of what I get is like really dark, kind of butterscotchy, leathery, and oak tones. And there is just a little hint. Most people probably generically say stone fruit. This, however, is mostly darker tone. There's not really this big super fruity thing. There's just a touch of fruit in there. It's almost a little more plummy too. Let's get that on the palate. Whoa. But on the palate, immediately there's a big upfront kind of dried tobacco note. That leather is still there. It drinks surprisingly hot for 100 proof, but granted, I haven't had a pour in like a week, and so maybe that's just like my palate kind of readjusting to having a pour. When I had this at the distillery, I was like, ooh, that's really nice and chill. And it's got a bit more hug going on through here than I would normally expect out of a 100 proof whiskey. Coming back into it, definitely that tobacco up front, but there's a touch, the chocolatey bitterness that you can get, not out of like a real dark chocolate, but just a touch darker than like milk chocolate, where you get that little hint of bitter note that comes with the chocolate. That's present. And there is almost kind of a dried cherry as opposed to where I was getting more like plumish and very different shifts. The one thing I will say I'm really digging is that malt note is basically almost completely gone. But throughout here, like basically mid-palate into the finish, there's a really nice influence from the barrel spice. It's just giving kind of that little light, like more white peppery kind of thing. And I really dig that. Let's get into the overall score for the Woodinville 9-year. Now, I really have to factor in price on this bad boy, even though I'm a bit of a homer and I like Woodinville whiskey. This is $130 MSRP, so you have to shell out quite a bit for this 100 proof whiskey. And in that regard, I'm going to give this a 65.